we should be thinking of other ways so that we can think of modular learning. So that while the children may be in school, face-to-face with the teacher, those who are off school may be using the modular learning or other tools. For those in the low to high risk levels, where community quarantines is going to be enforced and where schools will be closed, then certainly we can talk about, we can consider modular learning, blended learning, online learning, and homeschooling. I hope that just for me to be clear on homeschooling, we have a homeschooling program, but as much as possible, but there are also considerations before a child could get into homeschooling. This homeschooling is different from the learning from home when we do not do face-to-face, when we do distance learning. So these are possible modalities that we can take use. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk about the traditional face-to-face. As I have mentioned earlier, it will be implemented in schools with very low risk levels. The class size need to be reduced, 15 lang po, and social distancing will be enforced or will be observed, and it's going to be exchange mode if and when that's the modality or that's the strategy that's going to be approved by the EXECOM. Because what I'm thinking is the combination of the face-to-face and modular, where we can borrow the strategy of the MISOSA, the MISOSA, where half of the class is in its school and another half is off school. But we cannot talk of half now because there's a maximum number of learners in a class. So another consideration is not just on the learners. The learners certainly are residents in that area, but what about the teacher? So as where the teachers are residents in that area, then certainly, and where face-to-face is possible, then there could be face-to-face. But our concern would be, what about if the teacher will come from an area where the enhanced community quarantine is in place or is being implemented, unless the teacher is going to have a boarding house, consider staying muna in the community, get a boarding house, and just be there. Okay? So that's the traditional face-to-face. Let's have the next slide. So this is an option. The other option, in fact, I have mentioned this already, is the combination of the face-to-face and modular learning. A number of for example, 15 kids would go to school on certain days, the others would be at home, and then after 2 days, there's going to be a shift. All right, the shift for those who are off school will be in school on the next 2 days, and the assessment may be conducted in school and even in school, and that is where possible, and online where it is also appropriate. I mentioned already about the MISOSA, the MISOSA strategy that we can make use. The modules that we're talking about here may not necessarily be printed modules, but I'm strongly suggesting that all school children may have their printed modules as much as possible. We're working with ICTS and some partners for the conversion of these printed modules to digital format. And digital format PDF, digital format interactive. That's why some of you, my dear education program supervisors and PDOs, were also trained in the development of ebooks, because we want these self-instructional modules that you develop to be converted also to ebook. Because when we convert it to ebook, it's interactive. We can embed video. We can embed the audio. We can also embed sign language for our deaf kids. And so I call the ebook that the ICTS wanted to develop to be inclusive ebook, because it's going to serve, or it's going to address the diverse needs of our learners. Aside from this ebook is the conversion of this material to video lesson and even to video script. RD Alan, if you have very talent, I know you've got a number of very talented teachers. They can start converting these materials to ebooks. They can start converting their own materials to video lessons and even radio scripts where the radio-based instruction is going to be utilized. All right, let's have the next slide. Okay, this is just going to show you the TSOSA and the impact can be used in the previous slide that I have presented. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so those are just how it should be done, and I have discussed that earlier already. Next slide, please. So the other option would be the blended delivery. Blended delivery is a combination of face-to-face. Just like what I have mentioned earlier, the second option, it's a combination of the face-to-face instruction and online learning platform. So the difference is, from the second option a while back on modular learning, is in this blended learning, the combination of the face-to-face is online. Blended learning is an approach to education that combines online learning materials and opportunities for interaction online with traditional place-based classroom methods. It requires the physical presence of both the teacher and the student, with some elements of student control over time, place, path, and place. So this is only possible when the kids or the learners have their digital resources. So there are actually a number of approaches on blended learning, but we're only considering as much as possible. But should you think that other approaches can be utilized in your area, please feel free. So these learning options that I mentioned here are not prescriptive. We're just suggesting them because it will be out of the decision. We will leave to the decision of the schools on the learning modality that will be used, because you know best your learners. So among all those blended learning strategies, we're actually recommending the flipped classroom. And in this strategy, assessment may still be conducted in school and online. This can be used in very low risk levels only. Why? Because of the presence of face-to-face. But this is only applicable to those with laptop, with mobile phones, with PCs, because it requires online learning. Let's have the next one. All right. Those are the 12 types of blended learning. So you'll note that we considered flipped classroom, but you can have the other types even when it can be utilized in your context. Next slide. The next learning option is the modular learning of e-learning. So this is something to do with the use of our self-instructional modules. It's just based their ADM modules, because for now, what are available are the self-instructional modules of the ADM. Although for senior high school, we are also developing self-learning modules for senior high school, particularly for core learning areas applied, and eventually we'll be working on the specialized subjects. And I know that we have a number of you being part of that team. I already mentioned earlier about the conversion of these materials to digital format. And the considerations here is good for the low to school, there's no possibility of the face-to-face, and so the children will just be dependent on the printed modules and offline learning because they don't have internet connectivity. All right? They don't have the internet connectivity. They may have the laptops, so should they have the laptop, should they have the PC, then they can always avail of the digital copy of this ADM modules. Anyway, they can be used offline. But what's important is they have to store it, they have to have a storage, because it will certainly be, and it's not just, siguro you'll be needing something like 32 gigabytes or more because of the load, all right? So that's for the e-learning. Online learning is not possible here. The kids do not have internet connectivity. Let's have the next one. So how does the modular learning, e-learning, different from, okay, all right. May we have the next slide first, then we get back to homeschooling. May we have the next slide muna. All right. So, where it's also possible, we can have the online learning, where it's possible. And this can be done through the use of a learning management system. In our earlier discussions, the learning management system should be, as much as possible, school-based. There are a lot of platforms tools that you can make use. We have a lot of open educational resources that are available, but you really have to look into what are aligned in the curriculum. And the considerations for this is applicable to low to high risk, availability of resources online, and of course, the learner has to have that laptop, mobile phone, or any device. But look, in online learning, we cannot just refer to the learner. We have to include the teacher because they come face-to-face with the teacher online. So the teacher has to have also the laptop, has to have that mobile phone or any device, and internet connectivity. Because without that internet connectivity, then certainly our kids cannot go online, right? And the other option is on homeschooling. Let's get back to the previous slide. All right. So the homeschooling is a progressive movement around the country and the world. Previous slide, please. Previous slide, the homeschooling. Previous slide, please. Okay. So homeschooling is a progressive movement around the country and the world in which parents choose to educate their children at home instead of sending them to traditional public and private school. For now, we only have private schools offering the homeschool program. But with the new, if you read it in our DepEd Order number 21, it's also available for public schools, but not a single public school has actually started. We're working on the revision of that 1997 memorandum on homeschooling, and so we are including actually the public schools. However, we've got to be very careful. This is a reminder to our schools division superintendents and to our regional directors that they've got to be careful in approving the implementation of the homeschool program in the public schools, because in the homeschool program, there's really a need for having a facilitator at home. So you've got to consider that. But one among the considerations in homeschooling is when, for example, this is okay for our children with disabilities, for children who have problems in going to school, for those children of families that keep on traveling, the children of OFWs. But for some others, I think for a typical learner, I think it's best that they have to be in school and collaborate with the learners, because it's not just only from what they read in the materials that are provided that they learn, but they most especially learn from their peers and from the other learners.